All right, guys, what's going on? Welcome back to the Gridiron Gurus podcast. Today we're going to be looking at the NFL Divisional round. 4 games going down this weekend to get us one step closer to the Super Bowl. We're going to be looking at the Saturday games, then the Sunday ones, dishing out some analysis and predictions. Starting with the AFC, the one-seeded Broncos. We finally get to see them in action this postseason. This is a youthful team. Sean Payton's done a great job getting these guys in this position. I think the biggest question mark with Denver, Nick, is how legitimate is this team? Because they played about 13 one-score games. They had an abundance amount of luck at times, it seemed, in certain contests, like the one against the Giants. They had a close game against the Jets before that. Against Washington, they probably should have lost that one in overtime. It's just been an interesting season for the Broncos, to say the least. Denver's got a young quarterback in Bo Nix, who at times has been really good, but at times he's also been really consistent. You talk about lack of playoff experience. Well, the Buffalo Bills, Nick, they were in the same situation last week, going to Jacksonville against a team that had not seen much postseason action. And that's going to be the same thing here with Broncos. And most of this offense is incredibly youthful. Not just Nix, who had 25 passing touchdowns this year, but most of his weapons, guys in the backfield, his receivers, some of the offensive linemen. It's going to be an interesting experience for them. And the Bills, Nick, their defense is not great. This is an opportunity for the Broncos to really establish a ground and pound. R.J. Harvey has an abundance of speed. He's been a great dual threat back for them this season. Bo Nix is tough to contain, especially if you're going to play a lot of man coverage. He can burn you with his legs, not just big chunks, but also extending drives frequently. It's an annoying offense to defend, Nick, because Nix really is a gamer. We've seen him do that at Oregon many years back when he was at the college level. For Buffalo, though, Nick, their defense was not very good against Jacksonville. They were able to make enough plays, though, to skate by in that one. And the biggest difference maker was just Josh Allen on a complete heater. We'll talk about that matchup here in a second. But for this Broncos offense, they're going to be at home, about 2 weeks off, or really just 1 week off, right? And again, a lot of youthful experience. Bo Nix at the helm. What do you expect from these guys against the defense? It's just not that good.
It's very intriguing, right? This is a potential good matchup for the Broncos here that are enjoying that bye. They get that home field advantage all the way through here, and they're playing a defense for the Bills that has shown a lot of issues and it's been banged up. There have been some injury concerns. Matt Milano is a little bit banged up. He's questionable this weekend. Shaq Thompson, same deal. These are a couple of their key guys who are banged up here, and this defense just has not been great for the Bills. It's not really a typical Bills defense. It has not been playing very strong football, and a part of that is because of the way that they're banged up. They're just giving up a lot of points, and they've struggled. 21.5 points per game is definitely a lot higher than you were expecting for a Bills team, and they have a lot of key pieces here, and you saw that defense make some key stops against Jacksonville when it mattered most. And this is a tough matchup here. I think this will be a higher scoring game here. I think both these teams will put some points on the board. They'll be able to, fight, dish it out here. And I think it's going to eventually come down to which quarterback I trust more. And we'll talk about that in a second here. The Bills defense has struggled against the run. I think if the Broncos can establish a run, they will have a good opportunity to win this football game. I think R.J. Harvey will have to have a good day on the ground. Bo Nix is going to have to be accurate and confident in the pocket as well. But I think if the Broncos can have a strong day running the football, I think that will negate the Buffalo Bills offense and defense. This is a very intriguing chess match. I think this is the true toss-up of the divisional round. I think both these teams are very evenly matched here, and I think it's going to come down to which team has the more experienced players when it matters most. And right now, I think the Bills have key experience. I don't know if I trust the pieces on this Broncos offense in a tight playoff game. I know it's at home, but that's certainly a tough thing, and having that experience can go a very long way in a close back-and-forth affair in the fourth quarter.
That's why they need to look to hold on to this football as much as possible. And against this run defense, I believe that they can run the football in this matchup. So I think that's how they can make things a little bit easier on themselves when it comes to the lack of experience, the nerves, you might feel them. But if you can slow the game down and establish some long drives by being able to run the football, that should calm all nerves, unless you're so nervous you fumble the football, right? I don't think that should happen. But I think that's the best way to kind of handle that for Denver. And on the other side, their defense. This is a great group. 68 sacks on the year. That's an abundance of a number, led by Nick Bonito, his 14 coming off the edge. It's been a good stout group for them, especially on the front seven. Alex Singleton's been great at linebacker of 135 tackles. In the secondary, Patrick Surtain's a lockdown guy, and it's not that talented of a group for Buffalo in the receiving core. Dalton Kincaid at tight end gets a lot of targets. Khalil Shakir. Brandon Cooks the last couple of games has really stepped up. He's a veteran of this league who is emerging at the right time for Buffalo. And again, Nick, last week against Jacksonville, as painful as it was to watch as a Jags fan, Josh Allen was on a complete masterpiece, completed 80% 273. The tush pushes this year for them have been undeniable, especially in the go areas, fourth and shorts. It's been something very tough for opponents to defend, and they didn't run the football very well. It was mainly a one-dimensional attack. And Allen, Nick, they call him Superman for a reason. And one thing they did against Jacksonville is they created a lot of man coverage opportunities, and his accuracy was pinpoint. Anytime they went into empty sets, I was like, oh boy, this is not good. And most of the time, it was not good. Allen was able to find those matchups and take advantage of them. Didn't force him into many mistakes. For Buffalo, Nick, they're playing with a lot of confidence right now. And this is also a team that's had some questionable results. And at the end of the day, this is the NFL, right? You're going to play a lot of close games against teams that are maybe better than you or maybe worse than you, right? And Allen's answered the call every single time. And it's going to be another tough challenge here where he's going to have to be on point when it comes to his diagnosis of this Broncos defense because they're going to be bringing a lot of pressure. A lot of those four-man fronts are probably going to be winning up front, and it's going to be on to him to find, again, those favorable matchups against the Denver defense that has been exploited at times despite their success. And that's what it really comes down to in this league, Nick, is trying to target guys like Riley Moss. He does have 19 pass deflections, also has a lot of flags and a lot of yards allowed. So for Buffalo, you want to try to find more balance in this one because you didn't have it last week. And James Cook wasn't talked about much this past week, Nick. Well, this is a chance for him to kind of revive himself and get back into the limelight a little bit and have more of an impact than he did last week. And if the Bills can have balance, it's going to make them tough.
I think if the Bills can have balance, they're going to win this football game. I think the biggest reasons why I'm picking the Bills is because they have a veteran quarterback in Josh Allen. Allen is the most experienced quarterback in the playoffs right now in terms of playoff starts, and he has been really good in the playoffs. He's a veteran. He is, locked and loaded for this moment. This is a big opportunity for him to go on the road. He already won a road playoff game last week, and he has an opportunity to do so again here. I think Allen's going to have to be Superman. He's going to have to be the guy that's going to have to lead the day on the ground and through the air. Obviously, if they get Cook involved, that will go a long way. I said they have some injuries on the defense. They have some injuries in the offense. Terrell Shavers, he's going to miss this game. He got hurt. Dalton Kincaid's been banged up. Some other pieces have been banged up at wide receiver. They're very shallow. So it's going to be him relying on his top guys, relying on the guys he trusts. Shakir's going to get a ton of targets. He will certainly be a guy that they rely on here. They'll certainly rely on their other tight ends and kind of get that involved. They'll try to really, play something that's comfortable for Allen. I think Allen will get a lot of opportunities to carry the football, as will James Cook. And if they can establish the run, I think the Buffalo Bills runaway winners in this game. I think this is a great Broncos defense, right? Benito's phenomenal. Singleton's really good. The rest of the pieces have been really good this year. But I think if this Bills team can get that ideal balance on the ground and through the air, if Allen can really kind of throw you off his game and this Bills team sets the tempo early, they have a lot of success running the football in the first and second quarters, they'll win this football game and they'll be really solid doing it here. This is a defense that has been tested at times for this Broncos team. They played in some higher scoring games that were a little bit wacky, so they've faced some tough adversity at times here, and I think this will be a higher scoring game. This is a big opportunity for this Bills team and this Broncos team to put points on the board here. I trust Josh Allen in the situation. He's going to have to be the guy. He's going to have to be the hero. I think he can do so. He's a veteran quarterback who's been around the game. If you have to pick quarterback to lead your offense and be the guy, I think Josh Allen's the guy you're going to pick in most situations of the players that are remaining. So he's a guy I trust in this situation, a hostile environment. See what he looks like early. If he can set the tempo early and get a lot of confidence, this Bills team is going to be in a phenomenal spot.
The Broncos do have a great run defense, but if Buffalo can rip off some explosives led by Cook, and they'll be cooking with house money, I'm going to take the Bills as well to get the job done. Moving to the game after that one, San Francisco and Seattle. We just saw these teams play on the 3rd of January. San Francisco hosted the Hawks, ended up losing 13-3. The 1 seed was on the line. And San Francisco, Nick, it's not their fault, right? I mean, they just cannot avoid the injury bug. They had another one, George Kittle, going down. They still managed to beat the Eagles. Kyle Juszczyk was getting involved in the pass game. Christian McCaffrey as well. Demarcus Robinson had a big receiving touchdown. This is just a resilient bunch, and you can never doubt Shanahan, and I'm not going to doubt him here, right? I think even as a 7-point underdog going on the road, they can still make some things happen in this matchup. It's going to be on the shoulders of Brock Purdy to score more points than they did last time. This is an elite Seahawks defense. These guys have pass rushers. They have defensive backs. They'll get 6 or 7 of them out there at once. They're just so tough to defend because they have so much physicality and just so much speed overall. But if anyone can make something happen, it's going to be the scheming of Kyle Shanahan. Nick, Jake Tung has been a respectable tight end this year in relief for Kittle, so I think he's going to be all right. Christian McCaffrey was not able to run the football at all. He could not get loose against Seattle. Only had 23 rushing yards in that one, Nick. It's hard to imagine things are going to be much different in this matchup because the roster's only gotten worse, really, and especially on the defensive side of the ball. no pass rushing. The secondary's had a lot of responsibilities this year, and they're going to have to hold up in this one as well. I think the San Francisco can make it scrappy, and they're going to have to come out here and force turnovers, and they're going to have to make the most of their opportunities. But it's just hard to really sit here and talk about this one favorably for San Francisco, with everything being an uphill climb for them. But again, I think they're going to scheme up enough offense to hang around. But to win the game, it'd be one of the most impressive performances in the postseason I've probably ever seen if they can make that happen.
Yeah, I think it would be extremely impressive because they are so banged up. This is a very talented team, but D. Winters being banged up, Fred Warner, he's still trying to battle through, and they're hopeful to get him back, but I'm not sure on that. George Kittle is now out, obviously. That's a big issue. Jair Brown's been banged up. They just have so many injuries across the board here. They've been battling all season long, and I give a lot of praise to Kyle Shanahan for getting 12 wins out of a team that has been absolutely banged up and just bruised all season long. You saw it a lot last year with this team as well. They have a lot of key pieces, right? Brock Purdy's having a pretty great season when he's playing. McCaffrey is having a phenomenal season. The leading rusher and leading receiver for this team, and he has 1,200 yards rushing, 900 yards receiving, but they don't have a pass rush. They cannot get after the quarterback here. I think Sam Darnold will be able to sit in the pocket and pick them apart. We saw this game just a few weeks ago, and the Seahawks absolutely dominated. They stuffed that San Francisco offense that was unable to do anything. They had a phenomenal day against McCaffrey, and it's hard to expect him to have a good day after having such a bad day the last time these two teams played. I think it's an intriguing matchup, right? These are obviously two division rivals battling it out in a playoff game. But Seattle, I feel a lot better about them as the one seed than I do about the Broncos. I think the rest is going to help Seattle that had a little bit of injury concerns, but they're getting their guys back. I think a couple of pieces have been a little banged up, but they're getting their guys back. They're really solid here. Darnold's a really comfortable quarterback, 4,000 yards passing. He has been good for this team. They've been able to run the ball. They have a bunch of different backs they can use that get involved. JSN has been a phenomenal receiver. 1,800 yards receiving and 10 scores. He has been a freak for this team. The defense is really good. The offense is really good. I love the pieces across the board. I love the coaching in Seattle as well. It's hard to see them falling to a banged-up Niners team that they beat just a few weeks ago. Crazy things have happened, but I think I would feel the least confident about the 49ers pulling off the upset of all the underdogs this upcoming weekend. I just think Seattle is too strong and in a too strong a position to win this football game.
Now moving to the Sunday matchups, back to the AFC, New England hosting the Houston Texans. Now, if I wasn't a Jags fan, Nick, I'd be rooting for this Houston team because their defense is just nasty. It's incredible. It's so fun to watch. This defensive line has an elite pass rush led by Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson. They're well coached on the interior. D'Amico Ryans has done great things across the board at all levels of this defense. Biggest matchup I'm circling, though, is these corners, Derek Stingley, in Kamari Lassiter, they're left on islands quite often, and they do well in those matchups. But when you're going up against a team like the Patriots that takes as many deep shots as they do, Drake May's been one of the most accurate guys all season long when it comes to firing the ball downfield. Deep receiving core, Kayshon Boutte, Demario Douglas, and of course Stephon Diggs having a great season. This is a team that has a lot of efficiency in its pass game, especially downfield, Nick. And if you want to sit there and play man coverage, you're going to have to win every single one of those reps. And this is football. You're not just going to dominate on one side, especially in this league. And that's where New England can look to open things up a little bit. They're going to be able to run the football. I'm not sure. Will Campbell, a rookie left tackle out there against those veteran pass rushers, could definitely be a nightmare at times. Morgan Moses on the other side is a veteran, though. And this has been a pretty stable interior offensive line. Even though Jared Wilson's really struggled at left guard, and Garrett Bradbury has been a little inconsistent at center. They still have Travion Henderson, who's an explosive running back. Try to get the football into his hands as a pass catcher potentially. Ramondre Stevenson's really starting to clean some things up in his game this season. So this is a nice offense, Nick, but I think that's the biggest matchup. And I think that kind of favors New England because I think they'll have clean pockets, and I think May downfield is going to be able to find those voids. But the Patriots are, again, another team that a lot of people might think are fraudulent. They've played a very soft schedule. I know it's the NFL, but, man, their schedule really is that soft, Nick, where we can sit here and criticize it. And they did a nice win against the Ravens, but Lamar Jackson got hurt at halftime. They were up big on the Bills, and they blew the lead. So the jury is significantly out on this team. And if there's someone that's going to come check you, it's going to be that Texans defense, and it's going to sting.
The jury is certainly out, and this is a Super Bowl level defense for the Texans. This is going to be a lower scoring game, and I think the Patriots showed this past weekend in their 16-3 win over the Chargers that they can win lower scoring games where Drake May doesn't have to be perfect, but he just has to have a solid day. Obviously, May, I think he's going to win the MVP. He's having an incredible season, 4,400 yards passing, 31 touchdowns, 8 picks. He has been incredible across the board here. This is a very tough Texans defense, right? This is a stingy defense. I have to give D'Amico Ryans and company a lot of credit because this defense has been absolutely incredible. 17.2 points per game given up. That's second in the league. They're just so good across the board. They are just a phenomenal unit that they stifled the Pittsburgh Steelers offense this past weekend in that playoff game. They were absolutely phenomenal. Monday night, I beg your pardon. They stifled them, and Al-Sharai is phenomenal at linebacker. Hunter, Will Anderson. They have so many weapons. Henry To'oTo'o has been phenomenal for this team. He was getting involved. They force turnovers. They capitalize on turnovers. They either score defensive touchdowns or they put their offense in good field position. They are just an incredible unit, and they say defense wins championships. So I think the Texans would be a very good case study for that old adage because their offense has been abysmal. CJ Stroud's not really taking that next step and not reaching the heights that we saw early on. Woody Marks has been okay, but they still have struggled at times. Nico Collins, potentially has a concussion. He got a little hurt in that Pittsburgh game, so if they're missing him, that's another weapon they're down here. So it's very fascinating when you have a high-flying, phenomenal offense against a phenomenally strong, high-powered defense. Typically, you would lean towards the defense, but I think the pieces for the Patriots make me like them a little bit more at home. I know they haven't played a ton of super talented teams. The best team they played was the Bills, who they lost to, and then maybe Baltimore after that. They played a lot of teams that missed the playoffs, but they've looked really good on offense. They look like a well-oiled machine here, and I think they have enough pieces to overcome what is a very vaunting and strong Texans team. I think it will be a lower scoring affair. I think the Patriots are going to win this game. It will come down to the end of the game. I think the Patriots will get the job done. This Texans team, though, is very fascinating. If they can get the offense right in the future, they could be a Super Bowl contender immediately because that defense is one of the best I've seen in a very long time. It's very well coached, very well disciplined. They're going to make it a nightmare for Drake May. The Patriots are going to have to earn this one. It will not be easy.
Yeah, I'm still focusing on that Texans offense against the Pats defense. Like Stroud, even though I'm a big fan of his, it's hard for him to string consecutively positive plays together. If Nico Collins isn't available, which, he had that concussion Monday night, and he'll be questionable, it's going to be much tougher because they only have, outside of Dalton Schultz, they don't really have many guys that can catch passes for them that aren't, youthful players. They got the guys from Iowa State. Christian Kirk was great against the Steelers. And I'm not convinced this offensive line is all that greater than the Chargers one, Nick, where the Patriots were just sending blitzes over and over again. They had 30 pressures in that game, dude. I don't know if you're going to do that 2 games in a row, and they were pretty much just doing that with no care in the world what happens to their secondary, because that's how bad the offensive line was that they were facing. And I think the Texans can definitely handle those stunts a little bit more. And I don't know if Caleb Vaughn, Chazon, and Harold Landry are going to have as much success as they did Sunday night. But that was an interesting thing to see against the Chargers, Nick. And if the Patriots want to have that same strategy, it might work out because I think this offensive line is also a bit of a worrisome group.
Yeah, I think that makes a ton of sense, right? Put pressure on Stroud early. You saw Justin Herbert get sacked a ton in that matchup over the weekend. I think that's a key blueprint for success here for this Patriots team. Put a lot of pressure on C.J. Stroud, hit him around, really make him uncomfortable here. He's lacking a lot of those pass catchers that would be key. Kirk had a really strong day. I expect Kirk to get a ton of targets here. No Nico Collins would certainly be a big problem for this offense. And Stroud's just wildly inconsistent, right? I think he is just not super consistent. He's got a fumbling problem. You saw a couple of bad snaps in the game against the Steelers where there were a lot of weird situations where the ball was getting snapped early, it was getting snapped to his side. It led to fumbles where they're luckily able to recover most of those. But if you give this Patriots defense, which I think is a lot more aggressive and will force a lot more turnovers than the Pittsburgh Steelers defense was going to, that will put that team in great field position. You give the Patriots opportunities, short fields, they will punish you and take advantage. That could also be a key difference. Wonder what that looks like early on. Can this Texans offense be in a sort of sync and rhythm they need to be to win this football game?
Now, looking at the nightcap, the game I'm interested in most this weekend, the Rams visiting the Bears. Home team 3.5-point underdogs in what might be freezing weather, Nick, with all that wind expected in Chicago. It's already going to be like 20 degrees. Interesting opening weekend for both of these teams. The Rams, they looked like they were going to blow out the Panthers. They stalled out big time in the second half on offense. Stafford was just inaccurate, wasn't throwing the football well. And we're not sure if that's because of the hand injury he sustained or not. It would seem like that would be it, but they just did not have a lot of chemistry. And he ended up powering through it, but they couldn't really run the football a whole lot with Kyron Williams either. They couldn't take that pressure off of him. Some of the decisions from Stafford, even if you're hurt, weren't making a whole lot of sense. He clutched up. He's having a 50-touchdown campaign, and he led them right downfield to make things happen. I don't care what the weather is, Nick. The Chicago defense is pretty poor in all weathers, it seems, especially early on in games. They can't cover. They can't stop the run. They're giving up 4+ yards per carry. it's weird because I was watching the Packer game and they were losing a lot, and it's like this is exactly how the first game went. And I was like, they're going to come back, and they ended up coming back and they won the game. Where this defense was all of a sudden shades of the '85 Bears, Nick, where they were giving up maybe a yard per carry. We're not allowing guys to be open. Kyler Gordon was getting picked on a lot. Guy who hasn't played a whole lot this season. He had a terrible day in coverage. Nashawn Wright, Tyreek Stevenson aren't really all that better. So this is going to be a tough matchup for the secondary against Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams in that passing game. But Chicago has a great equalizer, Nick. They have a resilient offense themselves. Caleb Williams was putting on a show, especially that play on fourth down. The last time they played the Packers, he had to rally them from behind, had a massive touchdown late in the game. Then he had a banger of a throw to DJ Moore in overtime. So Williams and this Bears offense have been clutching up, Nick. A numerous amount of times this year they've been trailing with less than 2 minutes and ended up winning the game because of Williams and his heroics. This strikes me as a game that's going to be offensive, even in the cold weather. I like the Rams' defense because guys like Byron Young, Jared Verse, Kobe Turner, it's a phenomenal defensive line, and their secondary is also going to be battle tested as well back there, led by Kobe Durant, Emmanuel Forbes, guys themselves who have been inconsistent. I'm taking the Bears to stay hot at home, Nick. I know you got the Rams winning the Super Bowl, so you're not going to change that now, but what an interesting wild card weekend for both of these teams, or quite easily, both of them could have lost.
They certainly could have lost. This could have been a completely different matchup, and the whole bracket could have been shuffled up if Carolina and the Packers won. But both these teams fought late, had great fourth quarters, and got the job done. The Rams, they could have won the 1 seed. They ended up blowing that. And now they got to go on the road and play in a cold weather climate, which is certainly not ideal for a team from Southern California. Matt Stafford, he's a veteran though, right? He's been around. He's played in Chicago plenty of times, owing to the back when he played for the Lions. So he's played in this environment before. 4,700 yards passing, 46 touchdowns. He has been really good. He had incredibly, 2 great late drives in that game against Carolina. He is a guy that is a veteran of the game. He's somebody you trust. He's somebody you can rely on. I know I said that Josh Allen had great playoff experience. Stafford didn't have a lot of great playoff experience because he was with the Lions for so long, who were not making the playoffs. But he is still a veteran that's been around the game for so long, and somebody you can rely on. Kyan Williams is really good. Puka obviously is impossible to cover. This defense I think is really good. Byron Young has been phenomenal, getting pressure on the quarterback. Nate Landman at linebacker has been really good for this team. Mostly healthy. This Rams team, they seem to have their guys kind of getting back into a groove. The Bears, they looked dead on arrival. Looked like they were going to get absolutely run off the field at home in embarrassing fashion. Another embarrassing home playoff loss looked to be in the cards for the Bears against the Packers, where they have struggled at home for many, many years in the playoffs. But they bounced back and did what the Bears do best. They came back and they put on an incredible showing in the second half to win this game, led by Caleb Williams, who I thought had an incredible day. Colson Loveland got a ton of targets. He was a big key asset. Expect him to get a lot of targets again this weekend and be a key piece in this offense. I think the Bears defense is just a little untrustworthy, right? I can't fully buy in on the Bears defense. I like the pieces, but I just haven't seen them convince me enough that they can get the job done. 23rd in the nation in point, or not nation, in the league in points against, 24.4 points per game given up. They score a lot of points, but they give up a lot of points as well. And I think this Rams offense is capable of competing in a shootout and winning a shootout against this Bears team. 30.5 points per game for this Rams team. They are a phenomenal high-flying offense, first in passing yards, seventh in rushing yards. If this is going to be a truly offensive shootout despite the weather, which I think it will be, I agree with your assessment there. I trust the Rams in that situation. I trust the Stafford offense, and you get the job done. I think it will come down to the fourth quarter. I think it will be a back-and-forth affair, but I trust the Rams to get the job done and win this one. I know I have a little bit lower scoring than you do, and that might maybe I probably should have bumped it a little bit higher here, but I think this is ultimately an opportunity for the Rams to win this game on the road. This one feels like a very close toss-up as well, similar to the first game we talked about. These are two really talented teams. I'll take the Rams here. I'll rock with them, but this is a very intriguing one. I'm excited for this matchup Sunday night.
So for today's episode, make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, and see you for conference championship weekend.